Here's a cool question that I want you to look at, and it says a temperature in degrees Celsius C is a linear function of the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. What are you talking about? If you think about Celsius, that is metric. Fahrenheit is very imperial, and Fahrenheit is a system that they still use in the United States, whereas the rest of the world has adopted the old metric system in Celsius here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to develop a formula in order to convert back and forth between Celsius and Fahrenheit. So what I've got here is I've got some critical points which are kind of interesting. One of the points is if the boiling point of water is 100 degrees C, it's actually 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And the freezing point of water is 0 degrees C and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, look what it asks you to do in this question. It says write an equation in order to do this. Well, that seems really almost impossible at this point right now, but it's not. The reason why is because if you look at these are points on a grid. If you think about it, here's your grid. Let's make Celsius down here and Fahrenheit up here. What you'll see is that if you go out to 100 on Celsius, it has a corresponding point of 212 right there. Fahrenheit. So what's interesting about this is, look, now you have 0 Celsius, which is here, and 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is there, and look what you have, all the temperatures in between. And that's kind of neat to see that as a function now. So what is this point? Way up here, this point is, yes, a coordinate of 100, 212. And this is a coordinate of 0, 32. And from that, we should be able to develop a relationship for this function. Woohoo! Okay, so let's work. First things first, you know that this is y equals mx plus b. The whole point now then is to find m. Let's figure out m. So, all right, m, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. There's our formula. Let's start labeling things. There's our first point at x1, y1. There's our second point of x2, y2. And let's just go to town. y2 is 212. Subtract y1, which is 32, over x2, which is 100. Subtract 0. Okay, so here we go. Let's figure this out. So 212 minus 32, that works out to be 180. 100 minus 0 is just 100. So you actually have, well, check this out, 18 over 10 or just 1.8. Beautiful. Now I'm curious, what is 1.8 as a fraction? Well, here we go. Let's figure it out. 1.8 as a fraction, math frac, is 9 over 5. Interesting. Okay, so that's equivalent to 9 over 5. Maybe that might be a little bit easier for us to work with later on. Let's see what happens. Now, let's develop the rest of the equation. If you think about the rest of the equation then, the rest of the equation is based on, yep, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Let's do it that way. Pick a point. Easiest point in the world, I would choose this one. Why? Because it's got a 0 in it. Yahoo! Okay, so here we go. Y minus 32 equals the slope, which we know is 9 over 5. X minus 0. Oh, that's not too bad at all. This ends up being y minus 32 equals 9 over 5 x, and let's make this y equals 2. Y equals 2, 9 over 5 x plus 32. Now wait a second. What does this mean? What are our x values and our y values? Well, if you remember correctly, we said this is x, y. We said that that was Celsius, that's Fahrenheit. So in other words, this y now becomes Fahrenheit. This x now becomes Celsius. So for any temperature that we have in our country, we multiply it by 9 over 5 and add 32. And that'll give us Fahrenheit. So let's figure this out with a really interesting little additional question here. It says, use the equation to determine the temperature in degrees Celsius at which iron melts. So wait a second, hold on. This is in Fahrenheit. Here comes our formula. F equals 9/5 C plus 32. Okay, so with that in mind here, let's put in the Fahrenheit. The Fahrenheit here is 2,795 degrees equals to 9/5 C plus 32. So to solve this now, it's just simple algebra. Subtract 32 from both sides. Okay, that cancels this guy out. That's 3, that's 6, that's 2763 equals to 9/5C. And then to get rid of the 9/5, remember, that's dividing. So of course, we multiply both sides by 5. That's going to give us a big number. Okay, so let's bring up the calculator. Here we go, 2,763 times 5. There it is. Gives you that big number. And then, don't forget, we're going to, since this is times 9, we're going to divide it by 9. Aha! Look at that. Multiplying by the reciprocal. Yay! Okay, so C equals 2. Let's bring up our calculator again. C equals 2. 13,815 divided by 9, and we get an answer of 1,535 degrees C. So that's how you develop a formula and use it to solve a problem.